Once, long ago, there were a group of colonizers who sat down to have a meal with a local group of people that they would eventually go on to kill and force off of their land. And every year we gather around and reenact this war crime prelude because that's what it means to be thankful. Oh man, that story just doesn't work. And it doesn't even make, that's not even why we do this. Oh man, Thanksgiving needs a reboot. Let's talk about that on today's Project Shadow.
Can you hear me? I have something to say.
Hello everyone, how are you doing today, and happy Thanksgiving. My name's Charlie. You might know me better as sci-fi fantasy writer C.E. Dorset, especially if you're reading my latest book, Crucify My Love. And yeah, today I kind of want to talk about how we could maybe reboot Thanksgiving, but not like in how I think we should definitely do it because I'm standing on some kind of a holy mountain or something, but just kind of put it out there into the ether so that maybe by next year we'll have a better story. Because you know what I always say, life's about stories, and when they're crummy, write a new one, or at least edit and revise. But before we get into all that, if you haven't already, please take a moment to rate this podcast in whatever app you're listening to me on. It really does help out a lot. It tells the algorithm to share the podcast with more people. More people that listen, the bigger the community, the better the chance we get to interact with each other. And after all, that's why I do this in the first place. So thank you to everybody who has already done that. Alrighty, so Thanksgiving. Yeah, we tell this story about the pilgrims and the natives, and we have documentaries and discussions over what they actually ate, and no, it wasn't turkey, and it was like eel and squid, not squid, eel and oysters and whatnot, and yeah. We try to make ourselves feel better because we talk about the quasi-good relationship between the colonists and the tribes that were in the area, and how it was later settlers who came in and just messed it all up, because that makes us feel better. And we want to connect back to this ancient experience. Well, as ancient as it gets for us in the United States. I'm not that familiar with the origin story of Canadian Thanksgiving or any other country that does it, because I'm American. But yeah, the story doesn't work. And it doesn't work for two reasons, and that's one of the reasons it feels so disjointed when we hear it. Number one, yeah, we went on and killed off a lot of those people, and there was warfare and colonization and rape and murder and warfare and ethnic cleansing and genocide, and yeah, that's just not something that puts you into the thankful spirit. And yeah, that's not why we have Thanksgiving. See, we actually have Thanksgiving because of the Civil War, though we don't talk about that either. It became an annual proclamation that Abraham Lincoln started putting out there to have a day of Thanksgiving because, especially for the early years of the war, things were not going well for the Union. And it was a day to come together and be thankful and kind of count our blessings as a country for still existing. And over the years, this got tangled into all manner of various different religious movements and what have you, until finally it was formalized into a national holiday that had nothing to do with either of those two things that just came before it. Because it didn't. We celebrate Thanksgiving because people put together a committee and went to the Congress and said, hey, we should have a national day of Thanksgiving. And eventually they all kind of agreed and went, yay, we have a national day of Thanksgiving. And yeah, we're doing that. And then it kind of caught on a little bit. And then we had a couple world wars, and we had to recontext everything in the 50s to get women out of the workplace because They had to work during the war because the men were off dying and fighting and whatnot. And we had to find a way to get them back in the home, so let's put out some cookbooks. And yeah, no, that's not a good story either. But that's why we have it. And you can tell that it needs a reboot because of the many reboots that it's already had. For some people, it's football day. You gather around with your friends and family and you watch the various bowl games. I'm not a sports ball fan, so I'm not really up on it, but yeah, something like that. For me as a kid, and kind of still as an adult, it's parade day because I like watching the parades. I really do. I don't know why. I get a thrill out of weird balloons and things made out of rose petals and flower petals and whatnot. I love me a parade. I really do. And yeah, I got a problem. So for me, growing up, it was parade day. It was the day you got up early and you watched the parades and you had blueberry muffins because you never had blueberry muffins, and your mom made blueberry muffins for breakfast because that's what she did. And later you'd have turkey and dressing and all those other things that you really liked. So for some people, it's Turkey Day because it's the day that they have turkey, which is not all that special anymore because, turkey sandwiches are a thing and turkey salad's a thing. And we have turkey a lot more than we did turkey burger and whatnot. So yeah, you can see over the years that people have tried to reboot this holiday because the disjointed and twisty, windy story that we tell ourselves, it is not only untrue, but it's so untrue that it trips all of those sensors to tell you, that just doesn't feel right. Because we don't do Thanksgiving because of the Pilgrims, and we don't do Thanksgiving because Abraham Lincoln said we should. We do Thanksgiving because a group of people made a committee and lobbied for there to be a Thanksgiving. It's the same reason we have a Mother's Day and a Father's Day and whatnot. Because people wanted there to be a Mother's Day and a Father's Day and whatnot. And it was people. We can talk about the commercialization and how capitalism comes in and commodifies everything, but that's not the point right now. Thanksgiving is a good idea. And in a way, it's a natural outgrowth of our species, wanting to get ready for the dark days ahead. You see, we're past autumn. First day of autumn, the days are getting shorter. The days or hours are going away. The sun is not coming out as much. It's getting colder. The trees are losing their leaves. If you live in a rural environment, the crops have been pulled in. And here we are trying to make sense of our lives. And it's too early for us to celebrate the end of winter and the beginning of spring, which is why we have winter solstice days, because that's the shortest day of the year. And yay, the sun is coming back after that. So it's too early for that, but we need something to keep our spirits up as the days are getting shorter and seasonal affective disorder is sinking in on a lot of us. And so a day of Thanksgiving, a day to look back on the year or our lives or what have you and be grateful and thankful, that just makes sense as a way for our species to survive, for getting through the cold, dark days ahead. Remind yourself of the good things so that as the days get colder and shorter, you have put fuel in your tank to get through. But like with everything that capitalism commodifies and society puts extreme expectations on, no, we don't actually enjoy Thanksgiving, and rarely do we ever actually give thanks on Thanksgiving. Because, well, the food has to be perfect. This is the day where we all have to put our master chef into action and show that we can do stuff as good as the reality show chefs that we watch on the TV. And we need to throw this grand banquet and put the responsibility of that onto just a few people that don't really have the energy or the power to get it done. And so we stress ourselves out and we hang out with people that we normally don't see throughout the rest of the year. And that adds to some of the tension. People that are of different political and religious and cultural persuasions are coming together for the first time, probably since Christmas, maybe Easter, maybe some other set of holidays, depending on the culture that you are born into. And yeah, we have to figure out how to make it work. And we rehash the crazy stories that don't make sense about the Native Americans and the Pilgrims and that one shining moment where maybe we wouldn't have committed a genocide. And we know in the back of our head that we did. And the story doesn't make sense. And we're not used to being around the people that we're around. And most of it's just rehashing things because we're getting caught up because we haven't seen each other in a while because we've gone our separate ways. Maybe we've gone through a stressful commute to get there. Long lines at an airport, long drives on crazy roads. And by the time we get there, nobody wants to actually have fun because the stress has taken over. Yeah. If any holiday needs a reboot, we're probably going to talk about this for Christmas too. But man, Thanksgiving really needs one because it has become meaningless for too many people. So if I were to reboot Thanksgiving, what would I do with it? Well, one, I would stop telling the Pilgrim story. I would really stop telling the Pilgrim story. The Pilgrim story is a bad story. It's the beginning of the colonial oppression of the native population of the land and not something we should be celebrating. It just isn't. And we need to just drop it and come to terms with what we're doing and what we've done and what we continue to do. And maybe make that right. But yeah, we need to drop that part of the story. And we need to stop looking back to some vaunted past. Yeah, many times that can be helpful, especially for a holiday, to show how it's rooted in tradition, and that's why we do it. But yeah, as we've already talked about, it doesn't go back to them. So what should Thanksgiving be? It should actually be a day of Thanksgiving. It should be a day of gratitude. It should be a day of thankfulness. One of the things that we like to do at our Thanksgiving parties is not to go around the circle and everybody say a thing that they're thankful for, because that puts socially awkward people on the spot, and even people like me who often have a list of things that they're thankful for, because I like to do that for Thanksgiving, because it's easy to forget to count your blessings. Yeah, I still don't like saying them out loud. For goodness sakes, that's crazy. But maybe you make that an option if people want to do that. That's fine. But the big thing that we do is we come together and prepare a meal together. We join in. It's a communal event. It's a communal feast. People bring things. People help with the things that are being made. We sit around. We laugh. We tell stories. We actually try to cultivate a sense of gratitude. Because that's something that our society is very lacking. When everything's all about me and everything's just got to be divisive and nasty because that's what the powers that be want, so that they can keep us divided, so that they can have all the money and we can have none of it. Yeah, that's what the holiday becomes, is everybody divided and yelling at each other. So we have rules. Nobody discusses politics at Thanksgiving because we're not here for that. Even if we're thankful that our dude won, or our dudette, or what have you. Doesn't matter. We don't talk about it. That's not something we do. Politics is forbidden. So what do we talk about? Well, we don't talk about death. Death is forbidden. We have a holiday for that. It's All Souls Day. Coming up. It just happened. November 2nd. All Souls Day. Talk about death all you want. During the All Hallowed Days. But this isn't that. So we don't do that. Don't talk about death. We can talk about those who came before us. We can tell good stories about those who came before us. We can tell stories that we're grateful for. And that's the thing. We, in our family, try to actually cultivate an experience where everyone is allowed to have fun. An environment where there's no judgment, and when judgment occurs, it is shut down with an iron fist. Which has made me very popular with the in-laws and with the relatives, I have to say, because I don't tolerate that. You don't tolerate intolerance. It's the basic rule of tolerance. If you tolerate the intolerant, then you're just saying everyone can be intolerant. That's not how tolerance works. Like, you have to shut that down. And you have to make sure that everybody is having fun, working around and talking about things that they're grateful for, even when they're hard to see. And making sure everybody's actually participating somehow. If everybody's actually participating and nobody feels that the entire weight of the holiday's been put on their shoulders, it's easier for people to relax and have fun with it. We don't set a time for when the meal takes place. The meal is ready when the meal is ready. And it's been going for a couple days at this point because we brine our turkeys and we actually get other stuff done ahead of time. But a turkey takes the time it takes in the oven, and everything takes the time that it takes while it's in the oven. So you let go. You don't have those hard limits. Because the goal of the day is to learn to have gratitude. And I'm grateful for people showing up. I'm grateful for the chance to connect with people and reconnect with people and share stories that I may not have heard. Share stories about our family. Share stories about our friends. Share stories about ourselves. Maybe talk about that book that we like, or that TV show we're watching, or that movie that was oh so good. Because it's time for gratitude. And that's what we need to bring back. In fact, I almost think that How the Grinch Stole Christmas would almost be a better holiday theme for Thanksgiving than for Christmas. Though I understand why it's over there. Because what he learns is it's not about the stuff. And that's the problem with most of our holidays, is it's become about the stuff. Halloween is about the collection of candy. Thanksgiving is about maybe the sports ball games, if that's what you're into. Maybe the parades, if you're somebody like me. Or maybe the feast that we put on. Because we don't do a lot of feasts. We overeat a lot in this country, but we don't do a lot of feasts. And this is most definitely a feast. But when we actually try to cultivate and air a place of gratitude, I'm reminded of a Jewish practice that a rabbi once instructed me to do, and I'm not Jewish, but I have a lot of links with Judaism because of reasons. Long story, not for today's episode. But there's this practice of saying a blessing. So every time anything happens, you say to yourself a little blessing. So even when bad news is brought to you, you say a blessing. You say, blessed are you, Lord our God, for the gift of hearing. And you don't have to make it religious. I'm not trying to make this religious. But that to me is the spirit of gratitude. Yes, I heard really bad news, but at least I could hear it. So there's at least one thing to be grateful for in that moment. And to try to find those little things, because quite often in our lives, we have to look for the little things, or they will be obscured by the bigger things, or at least the perceived bigger things that want to eat up all the oxygen in the room. So try to develop that idea. And maybe by next year, I'll try to come up with my own little short story that we'll do for the episode to reboot this holiday, because the one thing that's always kind of bugged me about Thanksgiving, especially as an American, is it's the only holiday that doesn't have a mascot. I mean, we have the Easter Bunny for Easter. We have Santa Claus for Christmas. We don't have anything. We have, Cupid for Valentine's Day. Like, every holiday that we have in our country, every, widely celebrated holiday has a mascot. We don't have a Thanksgiving mascot. I mean, we can talk about the turkey, but, it's not really a mascot as much as it is a martyr. I mean, we're going to kill it and eat it, so that doesn't work. So, I don't know. I don't know what the Thanksgiving holiday mascot would be. And I would love to get some ideas, because I think that would be a wonderful challenge for us. So, by this time next year, let's reboot Thanksgiving. Let's give it a meaning. Let's give it, even if it's a fictitious backstory. Like, I don't know, maybe this goes back to the Valar of the Lord of the Rings. Wouldn't that be fun? I'm not saying that's what I'm going to do, but I'm going to come up with something. Because this is a holiday that I think is really important. Because gratitude is something that's very important and something that we don't value as much as we should in our culture and in our society. So how would you reboot Thanksgiving? I've told you kind of how my family and friends do it. I would love to hear from you. And like I said, this is a challenge. By next year, let's come up with our own story. Let's see what we can do. I think that would be fun. I hope you enjoyed this episode and hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. If you enjoyed this episode, and you haven't already, please do rate it in whatever app you're listening to me on. It does help out a lot. If you have any questions, comments, or topics you'd like to hear discussed on the show, in the show notes you'll find a link to the voice message system. Keep it short, keep it clean. I would love to hear from you. If you'd rather hit me up on social media, I am CE Dorset on both Twitter and Instagram. You can find links to everything that I do over at projectshadow.com. If you'd like to join the project and support everything that I'm doing, you'll find a link in the show notes to both my Patreon and the community support system. Your money really does go a long way in helping me do everything that I do, and I really want to thank everybody who does that. It's not a lot of people, but every little bit helps. And thank you so much. It really does mean the world to me. If you don't have any money right now or you don't feel like giving, that's fine. But if you know anybody that you think would enjoy this podcast or my books or the world building, do share it with them. I would love to hear from you. If you're doing NaNoWriMo, I hope you got the words written. We're almost done. The month is almost over. And if you want to use the voice message system to let me know how you're doing for the Friday recap, I would love to hear that. But yeah, it's been crazy. It's been a crazy year. And as we're heading into December, we're going to start doing some of those recaps. So let me know what you would like me to recap, like if you want to do any top 10s or whatnot. Because I've done those in the past and I can do them going forward. Let me know. Until next time, happy Thanksgiving and don't forget to have the fun.